Thank you for joining us today to discuss behavior support strategies for crisis prevention. This is part of the DLC's series of quick takes designed to make professional development easy and accessible. We are the Diverse Learners Cooperative. We exist to create purposeful networks of educators, increase best practices for diverse learners, and improve teacher retention. Today's quick take is part 2 in a series that focuses on behavioral support strategies designed to de-escalate learners. These strategies are designed for learners with a history of trauma in mind, but they're relevant for all young people. Before we jump in, we'll quickly review what we covered in part 1 of this session. First, the stress model of crisis. Remember that a crisis occurs when a young person's inability to cope results in a change in behavior. The goals of crisis intervention are to support and teach the student better ways to cope with the stress. Behavior support techniques are best used during the lower portions of the stress model, which is before we've reached the crisis or outburst up at the top. Next, a reminder of our behavioral strategies and how to select the right one for you. In this series, we explore 8 total behavioral strategies that help the learner regulate and prevent behavior escalation. In the last video, we talked about the first 4. And in this video, we will cover the last 4: redirection and distraction, proximity, directive statements, and time away. Remember, behavior support strategies are tools in your kit. You'll pick the best strategy for the learner and for yourself, dependent on the moment. This is where your knowledge of the learner and your classroom really come into play. You are the expert on what will work best within your context. Let's return to our scenario from part 1. Jimmy, a 6th grader, struggles with transitions, math, and peer interactions. During a math lesson, everyone is in silent work time and completing a worksheet on fractions. You see Jimmy jiggling his legs. He's letting out frustrated sighs every so often. His neighbor, Mike, is done with his worksheet and starts drumming his pencil on the table. Jimmy turns and glares at Mike. He says, "Can you shut up?" Our first behavioral support strategy of today is redirection and distraction. Sometimes turning your students' attention to something else, another activity, a joke, an observation, is enough to help the learner return to baseline. Strategies here vary by the user's development. Younger learners tend to be easier to distract through play, while humor might work with older learners. Take a second to think, how can I take my student's mind off of a stressor right now? Because I know that Jimmy gets overwhelmed by math, I can also assume that he's pretty focused in on the noise that Mike is making. In the moment, I could choose a redirection, like asking Mike to come help me with a task, or I could choose a distraction, like having Jimmy pick out a different pen for his assignment. I could also always combine a caring gesture with distraction, like sliding Jimmy a note that says something encouraging and includes a joke. Proximity. It's easy to think of proximity as only getting close to the student, but actually, proximity as a support strategy is really an opportunity to reflect on the many different ways you can use space. This could mean moving closer to them or backing away from them. Your relationship with your student and their reactivity to proximity is super helpful context here. So take a second to think, how can I use space to help calm this situation down? With Mike and Jimmy, we have a lot of opportunities to use space. I can put my body between Mike and Jimmy, kneeling and facing Jimmy. This shows I'm non-threatening, but also redirects Jimmy's attention to me. But I know that Jimmy sometimes stays really focused on his peers when upset. So knowing that, I'd probably sit on the other side of Jimmy, which causes Jimmy to turn his body away from Mike and hopefully prevents Jimmy from talking around me to Mike. Alternatively, I could ask if Jimmy wants to finish up his work at my desk while I grade, sitting nearer to me. Directive statements. When a learner is escalated, their capacity to think logically is reduced. A directive statement is used to remind the learner about the expectation in the moment. It's really important when using directive statements to consider your relationship with the learner and what's going on in their life. If you don't know them well, a directive statement might be taken punitively. This is a strategy where assessing what's my relationship with the learner and how emotionally regulated am I feeling is essential. You can think to yourself, is there a clear expectation I can communicate to my students right now? So I know Jimmy and Mike really well, and I'm feeling super calm. So I could use a combination of directive statements and proximity here, going over to Mike to quietly remind him that Jimmy is still working and reminding Jimmy of the expectation to keep his voice off. If I felt that Jimmy or Mike wouldn't respond well to one-on-one direction, I could use the directive statements of bodies and voices stay quiet while everyone is working, assuming that my classroom is used to hearing that type of reminder from me. Again, this is best done when you feel confident that you can use a calm tone and appropriate volume, and it's going to be seen as a direction instead of a reprimand. Finally, time away. Sometimes students just need a break from the stress. Time away is often used punitively. Think about how many times you've heard, go to the quiet area or go take a time out in times of stress. When used to greatest effect, time away is a way for the learner to take a breather with zero demands. It's not punitive. This is best used in times where crisis seems imminent, and allowing a break from all demands is worth it to quickly and significantly reduce in the moment stress. Think, would giving my student a break from everything be beneficial right now? If I felt that Jimmy wasn't able to let this conflict go and believed it might escalate to aggression, I'd ask Jimmy if he wanted to take a second in the hall or go on a little bit of a walk before he returned back to this space. I encourage you to take a moment to reflect on how these strategies might apply to your own work. Take a second to think of a recent situation where a learner was rising up the stress model of crisis. What strategies are you already comfortable with that you might reach for? Which of these strategies would be valuable to practice? And how would you change your strategies depending on the student or depending on how you're feeling? The more you use these, the more natural they become.